give you a little information about me. My name is Christine Nixon, and I actually have an interesting background, which has nothing to do with soap. So initially, like starting my career, I loved jewelry, and I had like an obsession with nice, shiny, beautiful things. So I decided to get more information on that, and I actually pursued a career in gemology. So I was a gemologist, active gemologist for, I would say, about a little over 14 years, almost 15 years. And then after being in that career, I decided that I wanted to segue into something else. I love sweets and I just love dessert. So I decided to open up a bakery. And I did that, and it was called the Cake Pusher. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might not have heard of it, but I had it was pretty much a late night bakery delivery service. So we were on all platforms like Grubhub and Seamless, and I did that for a couple years. I actually ended up selling the bakery, and I started just making soap and hair products based on my own personal needs, because when I looked into the market for, let's say, hair products, or even just some soap for my skin, I'm buying things that are on the lower end to the higher end, and literally I'm having breakouts. My hair was just not responding well to the product, so I made some items just for myself, and it turned out to be like the best items I ever used. So I just started doing more of that. I had some people that would come up to me and ask me like, what was I using for my skin, for my hair, and because my hair was a lot shorter than this, and I literally grew my hair back really fast in a short period of time. So I started making products privately for people, and that turned into me deciding to take it seriously and do it full time, and that's what created Bathing Spirits. So yeah, I had Bathing Spirits. This company has, I would say, been pretty much a full time job for me, probably for about 7 months, but I had this company for almost 2 years. And yeah, like, sometimes you can be involved in something that's just an interest or passion to you, and it can end up becoming, a whole career. So, I just wanted to share kind of a little bit of my story and how I got to soap. And then, we can get into the melt and pour soap, which is actually a really good thing for you to learn how to make if you're interested in soap making, because traditional soap making involves lye, and that can be a bit dangerous. And of course, anything you can learn and be able to do, and you can minimize your risk. But this is a great way to experiment and then see if you want to take the next step and learn other types of soap making. So see, we'll get started with the melt and pour soap. I'm just going to pull up the slides for you, just in case if some of you don't have it, you can just follow along with the slides. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now you should be able to see the slides. And going into the overview, this course is just going to give you a brief introduction into the history of making soap. We're going to talk about some base oils, which are pretty much in all the soap products you use. And it's good to learn about the typical base oils, and also we're going to discuss the comedogenic list. So that list is actually very important, because oils that are on that list, they can range anywhere from a 0 being something that won't clog your pores all the way to a 5. So we'll get into that as well. And we're also going to learn how to make rainbow soap, which is actually really pretty. I made some so I can show you in advance before we start. So this is what it looks like. So when you're finished, you'll have soap that's like this. And with this rainbow soap, you can actually make 4 layers of color. I suggested 3, but you can actually just, go ahead and make 4. There's, the soap is thick enough for you to do that. So, you can have like close to, a real full rainbow going on. Okay. And now we're going to get into the history of soap making, which is actually pretty interesting. you know, so soap is something that we pretty much use every day, or I would hope we all use every day as a part of our regular hygiene. But actually, in the 17th century, soap was something that was only used by the wealthy. And even earlier than that, soap was something that was just used to clean surfaces and, really help just do like regular household cleaning and, just anything you would do, when it involves like, let's say, washing your clothes, washing fabrics. That's what they use soap for. So I thought that was pretty hilarious when I learned about that because, we just use it all the time and it's kind of normal to us. But actually, it was used for medicinal purposes too. And the medicinal purpose of soap was actually a bath, which is funny. So if you ended up having some sort of skin condition, if you had a situation where, you had an infection on your skin or there was some sort of issue where, they felt that you couldn't just like rinse it off with some water or, typically people would just like bathe like, or just really with water and hot water or, and, they'll just add a robe to themselves and things like that. They would prescribe some soap. So that, that I thought was hilarious. And the first evidence of soap making was discovered actually during an excavation in ancient Babylon. So that's pretty interesting. If you look at the slide, I attached a pretty cute picture there. And this is around 2800 BC. And back then, soap was made with boiling animal fats with ashes. And, when they discovered this prior to that, what would happen is when they would burn wood, let's say, for fires and things like that, we discard of things, in a traditional way where we, throw things out in the trash and then that ends up going to a landfill. Well, they used to, a long time ago, just throw things kind of, in a pile somewhere away from where everyone else would, regularly just, live and kind of like just exist. So they would throw their wood and, burnt ashes into water actually, or by an area with water. And also there would be like animal fats and waste that would go there too. So oftentimes, like back in these days before soap was used, not everyone had the ability, to wash their clothes like with access to water. So they have to travel to water to wash their clothes. So they would notice, the local women when they were washing their clothes, it had like the water had ashes and some animal fats in it. That actually created a reaction with the animal fat and water, and the ash actually is where lye comes from. So when you burn wood and it gets down to an ash, you create lye, pretty much sodium hydroxide. So with all that mixed, they actually had kind of like a river of soap and water. So they would notice when they would wash their clothes in areas where there was fat, animal fat, and ash deposits, they would have like a kind of a soapy steaming mixture that would help them wash their clothes easier and all of their fabrics. Of course, this stuff was toxic because if you're mixing animal fats and if you're mixing lye and water, the soap actually is just going through this quantification process. It's not completely finished. So they were washing their clothes with soap that had active lye in it, which is kind of pretty scary, but it was still the first process of using soap. It was like kind of the beginning of all of it. So then also there's some mention of Egyptians using soap, but technically they can't get first credit, which I would love if they could, but they couldn't because it wasn't actual soap. They use vegetable oils with alkaline salts, which creates actually a soap-like mixture, which is interesting because a while ago I actually tried to do that to see what it would create. And if you do take about, like, I would say a quarter cup of vegetable oil, and if you add maybe, like half or 3/4 of that amount to the oil, like if you add salt to it, if you mix it up well and, let it sit for a while, it does create kind of a soap-like mixture, but it's not really soap. So They were close, but they didn't really get there, which is interesting. And I do like the fact that they use vegetable oils because the animal oils are kind of not my thing, but to each his own. And then we're gonna also get into talking about like just how soap transitioned from that point and went all the way to where it is now, where we pretty much use it every day. So over time, soap was used for a long period of time, just pretty much medicinally, and to clean fabrics and kitchens and surfaces. But of course, when you use soap over a period of time, someone's going to get that bright idea, like and figure out that they can use this soap on their bodies to keep themselves clean. So apparently, the wealthy discovered this first, and they decided that they were going to use soap as a regular thing, but soap actually was something that was, not seen as the everyday thing, and it was actually taxed as a luxury item. So people, didn't have access to soap, who were considered just regular, everyday people. So, if they did buy soap, they can only afford to buy a small amount just to, keep their homes clean and their pots and pans and, just the house and their surfaces. But there were other places in the world that did use soap, regularly every day as a normal hygiene item. And actually, one of those places was Asia. So they started using soap before Europe did. As far as like the overall population, just deciding that okay, we need to use this to clean ourselves and just use it as an item that's involved in our regular hygiene. So it was a long period of time until that happened. Um, it was basically from the 17th century in Europe all the way to the 19th century. And when the tax was lifted, almost immediately everybody decided that they wanted to use soap, and soap was definitely going to be something that was a part of their everyday routine. Which is wonderful because it should be. So that's just a brief history about that, and just wanted to let you know kind of like where soap comes from, what its initial use was, and now where we're at with soap being used every day, and we use it to wash our hands, we use it all the time. But one thing that happened over time that I do notice when it comes to soap is, of course, with large companies making soap products, dish detergent, even soap, just soap like wash your hands, body wash. The actual saponification process is expensive, because you're using real oils, you're using actually like a high oil content, and also they're wanting to make things as cheap as possible to make as much money as possible. So if you actually look at a lot of the soap that you use, like everyday items like hand soap that you might buy, or even like body wash, if you read the back label, it might actually say detergent, because most soap that's used on an everyday basis today is actually detergent. Like they can't legally call it soap because it's not made with the traditional saponification process, and they actually strip a lot of the good things that are in the soap out. Like they strip the glycerin out, and a lot of other things that you would normally want in your soap to help your skin out, and like lock the moisture in your skin and things like that. And they will actually sell the glycerin to like cosmetic companies, and they'll sell it to other companies, and they'll add something else that would be like either a synthetic form of glycerin or something else that's kind of like a skin like softener or a skin conditioner to your soap. So if you have some time after the course, you definitely want to like look at your soap, body wash, hand soap, read the back of the label and see if it has any language saying that it's any language listing detergent, or and also look for tallow, because if there's anything that mentions tallow on the soap, tallow actually is beef fat, and most of our soap is actually made with beef fat, including like dishwashing liquid and things like that. So it's pretty interesting. If you read the back of the label, you'll see that, and you can also look some things up. And I definitely recommend all of you like looking up ingredients, look into items. You definitely want to make sure you understand what you're using on a regular basis, and make sure you're using the best products that you can on your skin and just in general. Okay. So now we're going to go to the common soap and base oil. So this part is like really important because there is a list that I mentioned a little earlier. It's called the comedogenic list, and you definitely want to go ahead and look at this list and also think about like your skin and what kind of skin you have. You have acne prone skin, combination skin, or do you have skin that's just really dry? And you want to make sure that you're using oils that actually go with your skin type and won't clog your pores. Or if you have dry skin, you want to make sure you're using oils that will give you, the most moisture possible. So it's very important to, definitely understand what type of skin you have and make sure all the products you're using are the products that are appropriate for your skin. Okay, so now we're just gonna go here and just start at the top here. And I just breezed over this a bit, but when you make soap, the base oils are actually most of what your soap is made of. It is actually natural and real soap. So you're going to have, let's say if you have a recipe of, cocoa butter soap, and if it's just cocoa butter soap, at least I would say half or 3/4 of the recipe would actually end up being cocoa butter if it's going to be like a natural organic soap. So in the soap making process, which is considered to be saponification, what happens is you're mixing these oils with water and sodium hydroxide, which is actually wax. So when you do this, the chemical reaction saponification happens. So when that happens, it actually consumes all the lye, and what's left behind is soap. And then depending on what type of soap process you're using to make your soap, you can have fully ready to use soap in 3 to 5 days, or if you're using, let's say, the cold process to make soap, it would be about 4 to 6 weeks or longer, depending on, how long your soap is actually like, in the hot process before you decide to make your soap and place your soap, or I consider plating, like, actually pour it like in molds and set your soap. So that's what the saponification process is. And I did mention to you about, readily available commercial soaps and things that you use on your face and body. And again, you definitely want to like read the ingredients, because these soaps do actually cause irritation to your skin, a lot of them. And, they actually can, worsen any existing like skin conditions. So if you have, let's say, eczema or acne, these types of soaps that have what's considered detergent in them, or actually made, and it's labeled as detergent, a lot of those soaps do actually damage your skin over time. So you definitely want to pay attention to your skin and what's happening with your skin on a regular basis, and think about, okay, maybe it's something I'm using, and kind of like do the process of elimination with your own product. Okay. So now we're going to get to just some basic oils. And, shea butter is one of them, which is actually, it's not really an oil, it's more of a butter, and it's my favorite because it's something that you can use a lot of on your skin. It doesn't clog your pores at all. You have castor oil, and castor oil is actually really good for your skin because it's like a natural humectant, and it actually, it will lock in moisture, but also draw moisture into your skin, kind of like an ingredient in skincare, hyaluronic acid. So you definitely want to use things like with castor oil. You can just buy castor oil, and like after you take a shower, you can just like put that on, and your skin will stay moisturized all day. And also, olive oil is definitely a pretty good oil, and it's used in skincare and hair care products as well. So when it comes to like olive oil and anything containing olive oil, it's pretty okay. It usually won't clog your pores at all. It is a number 2 rating, which I'll go into the ratings afterwards, but usually with olive oil, you're not going to have to worry about too much as far as acne and things like that. Now we're going to get further into where things can get a little, I guess, problematic as far as your skin's concerned. When you see soap that has tallow in it, and that's this, middle oil that I have listed on the slide. So tallow actually is derived from animals. It's like it's basically beef fat, and that is a 2 on the comedogenic list. But I would definitely say that with tallow, it can still, it can still cause like acne and things like that. I've used products with tallow, and I've had like adverse reactions. So I would say you definitely don't want to go towards a product with, that has tallow or anything like that in it if you have problematic or really sensitive skin. Now we get to cocoa butter. And cocoa butter is definitely a butter that I've like used in the past. It's something, also just, given my family history, we use cocoa butter pretty much for everything. And cocoa butter actually broke me out a lot. It's a number 4, which means it's actually, very likely, it's likely to clog your pores. And I used to use it all the time. So, learning about this list later on in life and then eliminating some things and changing the oils that I use and also some of the products I use, I was able to correct that. But, a lot of products have cocoa butter in it, and cocoa butter will definitely, more likely than not, clog your pores. So if you have issues with skin, you definitely want to stay away from that. Also, coconut oil is the same. Coconut oil is the oil that would definitely clog your pores as well. And palm oil also, which actually is used a lot. You'll see palm oil pretty often in like custom made soaps. A lot of like, these artisan soaps that you might see, they'll use palm oil. Also in hair care products, you'll see palm oil used in a lot of like shampoos, especially conditioners. And if it clogs your pores on your skin, and if you have sensitive skin, you definitely want to stay away from that in skin products and in hair products, because when you get into that with hair products, using it on your hair, it's definitely going to go, it's going to drip down to your forehead, to your face, and it'll end up like clogging your pores, and you'll have like acne, pretty much all around your face if you have, skin issues like that. So now understanding the ratings, anything that's a 0 means that, it will not clog your pores. Like it says it's highly unlikely, pretty much, like, it pretty much won't clog your pores, but it definitely won't clog your pores. A 1, is unlikely, but it might clog your pores depending on how sensitive your skin is. But more often than not, 1 and 0 won't clog your pores. Okay, so if you're using something that's a 2, something that's a 2 on the comedogenic list, that would definitely have more of a likelihood to clog your pores, but it's not really going to. So let's say if you use the 2, it's like kind of what someone with normal skin would likely use. They'll stay between oils that are 2 to a 3. So those are ratings that won't clog your pores if an oil is rated, 2 or 3. So you definitely want to you can always Google oil too. So if you buy some products and you see that, you see a list of oils, you can just Google the comedogenic list, and you can Google the rating for that oil, and literally you don't have to click on any links. It will come up right away, and in Google, in your search, and it'll let you know what it is. So, that way you can decide, okay, this is something I can use or it's something I can't use. And also, after this course, I'll email you all a list of more than just these oils, just a full list of oils with ratings from 0 to 5. So that way it'll just be easy for you to reference. You can check the list whenever you like, and just when you're looking up your products, make sure you look at the list and see where those oils fall on the list to see if they're safe for you to use. Okay. And now we're going to go into common essential oils and uses. So with essential oils, you know, beyond them smelling great and, just being really good for, I would say, kind of like aromatherapy and, just also lifting your mood, they actually have really, like, direct skin benefits. So depending on what you're suffering with as far as your skin or whatever you want to achieve, you can check the essential oils that you're using and see, what type of benefits they'll have for the skin and what they do. So, for example, the first one, lavender, is actually calming and relaxing, which is lavender is pretty well known for being just calming and relaxing in general. But it also fights acne, which is interesting. So, depending on percentage you use of lavender in your products that you're making, even in melt and pour soap, you can mix lavender in there and it would help fight acne. It also soothes dry skin, which is really good. It's anti-inflammatory, so it's definitely a good topical to add. It detoxifies skin as well. It has healing properties, which means like for example, if you have like any bruising, not open wounds, of course, but something that's more like a superficial thing that's going on your skin, where it's bruising, or if you have some, I would say, mild eczema, things like that, lavender oil will help with that. And it also helps fight wrinkles, which is interesting. So lavender oil, beyond it smelling good, it has, some direct things that it would do to benefit your skin. So what I actually do when I make my soap, I have like my own kind of library of information with oils and the interactions and what they do and their benefits. So I'm able to make soap that's not just something that smells pretty, or it's something that's attractive. My soap is more like skincare soap, and it actually is skin treatment soap. So you can make your own too, based on whatever it is that you're trying to treat, or whatever soap that you're trying to make. You can customize it to do whatever you want it to do actually. So eucalyptus as well. That's number two. Like eucalyptus, I love. Some people, can't really take the smell. I happen to love eucalyptus, and beyond it being clarifying and refreshing, it relieves pain. Which you would need a high percentage of eucalyptus in products to do that. But if you have like superficial pain, it can work for that. It also has skin healing properties, of course, because of the smell. It clears sinuses. And one good thing about eucalyptus is it actually repels insects, which I think is pretty, great. So, you definitely, if it's like, something that you're going to do when it comes to being outdoors, especially during the summertime, instead of using, let's say, an insecticide, or using like, something that's like, something that has heat in it to repel insects, you can actually make soap and lotion that have eucalyptus oil and other essential oils and herbs in them that will repel insects the same way, and it's natural. So you can think about that, when you're making your items. Like eucalyptus is something that can help with that. Peppermint, of course, peppermint's refreshing. It has that nice minty smell, but since it's like usually things that have a strong, really, kind of almost, I would say, medicinal smell. Usually oils that have that going on usually happen to be like antibacterial, or sometimes they'll actually be something that you can use as like a kind of a light preservative. So peppermint oil is kind of similar. It actually fights bacteria and fungus too. So you can mix peppermint oil in your products, and depending on the percentage, you actually create a product that will fight bacteria and fungus on the skin. So that's something to take note of and remember. Also with grapefruit, it's uplifting, relieve stress, anything citrusy. Usually, if you see a product on the market that's advertised as, like something that's like a sunburst product, or like morning sunshine, things like that, it's usually something that has citrus in it, because usually citrusy scents do give you an uplifting feeling. They kind of wake you up. when you smell something that has strong citrus, and it can relieve stress, they're saying, as far as, just the scent. Also, it's antibacterial. It's an antioxidant, which is good for your skin because anything with citrus in it, like for example, vitamin C, vitamin C serum, it would help, basically reverse the signs of aging, and that's because of the antioxidant properties. Uh, it also fights acne, and like just with that, just with the citrusy, like I would say products and citrusy items like grapefruit, vitamin C, lemon, things like that. They also help provide like I would say a bit of wrinkle protection, or maybe you could just say they help fight wrinkles. They'll help keep you youthful as long as possible. So you definitely want to include something with citrus, whether it's grapefruit or vitamin C. Along the lines of that, like orange seems to be popular mainly. People love orange products or things like that because orange happens to be really affordable. But any type of citrus, if you add a citrus oil or anything related to citrus in your products, is going to have some anti-aging properties in it. So that's always a plus when you're making soap or skincare. And of course, rosemary, which I really like rosemary because I love the smell of rosemary, and also rosemary is it's actually preservative too. So I use rosemary in a lot of products. Also, a lot of my customers always request scents that have rosemary mixed in. So rosemary is great. It also repels insects. So you can mix rosemary with eucalyptus, and there are also other things you can mix in if you want to make a soap for the summertime. Let's say if you're going to spend a lot of time outside, or in a park or wooded areas, you want to make a soap for yourself that would help you repel insects from your skin, and help you not get too many mosquito bites and things like that. So definitely want to remember rosemary for that. And it also relieves pain, but that's rosemary in like basically really potent high quantities. So mainly for what you're using rosemary for, or even just in skincare products, it's not going to really relieve pain. It increases circulation. So that is true. If you use rosemary products, or have a shampoo that has rosemary in it, it will help increase the circulation on your scalp, which actually helps grow your hair. And also it's an anti-inflammatory, which is really good because it will calm the skin. And if you have rosemary oil or rosemary in your hair products, anti-inflammatory properties help grow your hair as well. Because if your hair is inflamed, if your scalp is inflamed and irritated, your hair tends to fall out, and if your follicles are not healthy, it's not a good environment for your hair to grow. Okay, so now we're going to get to the part where we're actually going to make some soap. So you're going to unbox all of your items if you haven't already, and your kit came with some oils. So these are actually fragrance oils. It's going to come with like cherry blossom, and there's a hazelnut. So actually that's vanilla hazelnut. There's a lavender fragrance oil that you should have in your kit, and also a grapefruit and mint. So I suggest you smell all of them, and just get an idea of kind of what scent you like to mix together. If you want to mix anything together, if you just want to use one scent, that works well too. And if you're using one scent, you want to just prepare your oil. So per color that we're going to make, because we're technically making 3 colors for our rainbow soap, you're going to use a third of the bottle for each color. Okay, so you want to decide what you're going to do, because if you're going to use one scent, then you can just, basically pour all that into 1 cup. If you're going to make different scents, you just want to evenly distribute each oil that you're using. So if you're using, let's say if you're using 1, you could just go ahead and, depending on how like strong you want the soap to smell, you can use 1/3 or 3/4 of the bottle. Now, if you're mixing 2 oils, you want to use 1/6 of the bottle when it comes to each scent. So I'm going to give you a little time to do that. And you want to make sure that you have enough for all of your layers. So if you're making 3 colors, you're going to need basically a whole bottle if you're using 1 scent.
Christine, would you be able to show us pouring one if you could?
Yeah, sure. So, right. Okay, so I'm just gonna pan down. Okay. Just want to make sure you can see.
Yep, okay. We can see.
All right. So you're just gonna look at the bottle too. So for example, this bottle is a full bottle here. If I'm going to use this whole bottle because I want to use 1 scent, I'm just gonna pour the whole bottle in. Just 1 bowl or 1 cup. So you're gonna actually, you have cups, so you're gonna pour it into your cup. And for example, I'm going to use 1/3 of this bottle. So I'll just look at the bottle and you're just gonna really eyeball it. So 1/3 of the bottle and pour it in. Okay. Okay, so you see, you just have 1/3 of the bottle in here, and this is for 1 color that you're going to use in your soap if you're using 3 colors. So you'll set that aside, and you'll take your you'll take your other oils if you're going to use different ones, and you just take your cups and make sure you separate them so you have 1 cup filled with either 1/3 of oil, or it'll have 1/6 of 2 oils if you're mixing. But you should have 3 cups, 3 separate cups filled with oil. So when you have your cups filled with oil, you just want to set them to the side. Set them in a safe place, somewhere you won't knock them over. So I'm just going to put mine here, out of view. And it's okay if you eyeball it. These oils are, they're not really that strong. Essential oils are actually a lot stronger in scent than these oils. So if you're, yeah, these are fragrance oils. So what you want to do is you can just, eyeball it. You're really just using 1/3 of the bottle when it comes to using a single scent. So I'm going to pan down and I'll start mixing some other ones.
Should we be using the gray bowl that came in the box?
Actually, no, you're going to use that later when you mix your soap together. You want to separate your essential oils, and then afterwards, we're going to add the dye. When we get to that point, we'll add it to the essential oils, and then we'll mix it in the soap base later on.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And just so you know, with these oils, these are actually fragrance oils. You know, are not, they're going to have a similar scent, but it's not the exact scent that 100% natural essential oils will have. So you might notice if you're used to using essential oils that some of these smell a little different. I will provide you with links to purchase essential oils if you would like to buy just a sample case of just various different kinds that are your typical essential oils that you'll use. So you'll have something that you can experiment with. But these oils, this is kind of like what's included in this kit, and this kit is actually like a complete like natural like food safe kit for making soap. So just so you notice, like some of the oils might smell like a little different, a little sweeter, but you can use your discretion. You're going to smell them. If you like to mix them and make a kind of like a combination mix scent, you can do that. But some of them are like a bit sweeter than normal, like the cherry oil, for example. So that's something that you might want to consider also when mixing. If you're going to mix the cherry oil with something, you might want to mix it with the grapefruit, because it's a little less sweet, just to cut that like sweet smell, instead of like deciding to mix that with like a vanilla, because that would be super sweet unless that's what you're looking for.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to confirm that we won't have to decommission the cups that we use after. Like, this will be food safe.
Oh, said what? I'm sorry, did you?
For the cups, I'm just using this jar, but I want to make sure that, should I throw it away after I use it, or like only use it for soap, or can I use it to drink something out of after?
Oh no, you can use it to drink something out after. It's soap. All the ingredients are food safe, so technically you can just wash it out and use the cup after. It'll be fine.
Cool.
Is everybody ready for the next step? Oh. Okay.
Thumbs up. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I'll wait for everyone. I'm trying to figure out a way to get back to chat, so let me see here.
Can you just recap what we should have done so far?
Yeah, so at this point, what you're doing is just setting aside your oil. So if you're mixing oil, you're going to use 1/6 of a bottle of each scent. And this is basically if you're mixing 2 oils. If you're using 1 oil per color, you're just going to use 1/3 of a bottle for each petal. So you want to have 3 cups out, because we're making 3 colors. And you want to have 1/3 of each oil if you're using a single oil per cup. If you're mixing oils, you want to have 1/6 of the bottle of the 2 oils that you're using that you're mixing per cup.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope it's not. I'm not trying to make it sound confusing, but I know it's like. So I'll show you, for example, I have these 3, just to have a visual. I just have 3, and I'm using Pyrex dishes. So you see, if you can see here, I just have my 3 set aside, and 1 is just for each color, of soap that we're going to make.
I think everyone's ready to go. Yeah, I'm just looking at.
All right, so we can move on to the next step. Now, what we're going to do here is create our soap color. So I have a chart here, and your kit comes with 4 basic colors. So you should have red, and these are food safe dyes. You should have green, blue, and yellow. Okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take one of your bowls or your cup. I'm sorry, I'm saying bowl, but you have cups. You're gonna take your cup filled with oil, right? And you're going to look at the chart and decide what color you want to use. So if you want to create purple, you're going to add 2 drops of each color if you want a light color. If you want your color to be medium, kind of in depth, you're going to add 4 drops of each color to get your result, and that's going to be a medium color. If you want a super dark color, you're going to add 6 drops of each color of dye. So these first 2 columns are the colors that you have, you know, your red, your green, blue, and orange. So if you see those colors there, you're gonna basically match it with the blue. Your red and blue will equal purple. Now, some of these colors that you have on your first 2 columns, you'll actually have to create. That's if you want to have a fancy color. If you're looking to make gray, you're going to have to create purple and then add green to make the gray. So you just follow the chart, and we'll just quickly, you know, do this. You're not going to see too much of the color right away because we're adding it to the oil. When we mix in the soap, you'll end up seeing the color, and you can add 1 drop of each color to the soap base if you want to make your soap a little darker, which we'll do. So right now we're just going to start and create the colors. So for example, I'll pan down to show you. I'm going to make purple. Okay. And I'm going to make a dark purple. So I'm going to use 6 drops of each color. I'm going to start with red.
Just to clarify, you're putting it in the oil, right?
Yeah. We're going to add it to the oil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, now I'm going to use 6 drops of blue. Okay, and I'm just going to swirl it around. It's not going to mix completely even, and you don't have to worry about this part. You'll see the color mix evenly when we add it to the soap base. The soap base is super liquidy, so it will do all of that for you. You will start to see when you swirl it around, you see the color. So this is a really dark purple. You'll start to see, like, you know, just basically like the ink stain of what the color will look like. Okay.
And then if you wanted to make that purple magenta, would you add 6 drops of red to, or would you add 12 so that it's equal parts? Does that make sense?
Oh no, if you wanted to make it magenta, you would just add 6 drops of red because the total will make that depth of purple. So you're just gonna add 6 drops of red and you'll get magenta. Now, when the soap base is mixed, if you want to add a couple of drops more based on, you know, how like dark you want to make it, that way, you know, you can gauge it. But when I made like, some of the mixes like with peach, I just used, 6 drops and 6 drops if I, based on a dark color to get where I was going. And this is the peach color that I made, if you can see it. But you can always darken the color with like 1 or 2 drops of the dye, like once you mix the soap base. I'm gonna make cyan. And I'm gonna make a dark color.
Christine, someone had a question. What do we do if the colors aren't mixing in? They're not going to mix completely at this point,
Yeah,
right?
at this stage, you're not gonna mix in completely. You're gonna see what's gonna look like pretty much like a, like running dye and some oil. It will all mix in when we add the soap base. The soap base is actually very liquidy, so it'll all mix in there. Okay. See what color. Maybe peach.
Sorry, just to clarify, it's 2 drops for a light color and 6 drops for a dark color?
Yeah, so 2 drops of each color for light, like really light color. Medium color is 4 drops of each color. 6 drops of each color for a really dark color. And just to show you what a dark color would look like, I made these using 6 drops of each color. So for 6 drops of each color, you're gonna get this depth of color, like with each of your layers. And it may not, I don't know if my camera's gonna translate the color that well, but this is like, this is pretty dark. And also, like after you mixing your soap base, if you want to make it even darker, you can add a couple of drops or start with like 1 drop of each color and just mix quickly. And you'll be able to deepen the color that way too. Okay. So I guess you let me know when you're ready to go to the next step. And after you finish mixing your dye colors and with your oils, you just want to set them aside.
I think if anybody is like struggling or maybe a little bit behind, put a message in the chat. Otherwise, we could probably move on because I saw a couple thumbs up, but not everybody. Yeah.
So, okay, so how many? I guess if you can, like, just type in the chat, microwave or stovetop, just so we know how many are doing microwave and stovetop. And I'll show you for just to show you with the stovetop, like if anyone's using stovetop instructions, this is what the double broiler should look like. We're gonna make like a faux double broiler.
I think everybody's doing stovetop that has said so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
one microwave, a couple microwaves.
okay. All right. So what you want to do is you want to take your pot and fill it up halfway with water. I'm just going to show you real quick with a pot and a metal bowl on top what your setup should look like. I'll be right back. I'm just going to get a pot really quick. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pot. You're going to fill your pot up halfway with water. Okay. And then you want to use a metal bowl and place it on top after you fill it up. So it should be a metal bowl that fits on top, see like this one, so you don't want it to like fall in there. And this is gonna create your double broiler.
Could you do a Pyrex bowl if you don't have a metal bowl, or?
Yeah, you can use a Pyrex bowl. Technically, you can even use like a ceramic bowl, or just a regular bowl that you would just have in your home. A metal bowl is preferred, but you can use any one of those bowls, whatever you have. You just want to make sure your pot's filled halfway with water, and you want to place your flame on high, just to help everything like boil quickly. So when you set that up, just put it to the side. You're just gonna have your pot and water boiling, and now what we're gonna do is cut the soap. So you want to take one of your soap blocks. So you're gonna take that out. So your soap blocks that came in this here, you just want to take that out. And I'm going to pan down so you can watch me really quickly. So all you're gonna do here is make sure you can see. Okay, so you're gonna take your block, and what you want to do is you don't have to be perfectly exact. You just want to look at the top of it, kind of eyeball it, and take your knife and make an indentation, kind of like 1/3 of the way in, another third of the way in, so you have your 3 sections. So when you do that, you're just going to eyeball it, and you actually can use this. So instead of using a plate or anything like that, you can just use this cardboard that it came in, and you can just place it here. It works just as well. And I already created an indentation, but I'll do it again. And you're just gonna do that, eyeball it, and kind of do the same thing here. And then make sure you have your 3 sections. Now you want to take your knife, right? You want to place it in the middle here, and then just press down, and then you're gonna push your knife down this way. And you can continue to do that, just probably one more time so you get all the way to the bottom, because it's a little tough to cut. Not that tough, but a little bit. So then you're just going to turn this around to get the other side. Okay. And then you have one slice like this. You can do the same thing here in the middle. And around. Okay. All right. So now that we have these 3 slices here, you're going to take one here, and then you're going to do the same thing. Just eyeball it, kind of plan where you're going to cut for your 3 cubes. Okay. Take this here. And my cubes might look a little smaller than yours. So your cube is going to be slightly bigger. So it might be a little tougher to cut, but not that much. So you just make sure you separate your cubes. Okay. So you should have 9 cubes. And since you're all doing the top and most part, you're going to take 3 of these cubes and you're going to put them in your bowl. So when you take 3 of these cubes and put them in your bowl, you want to check your water. That's why I said turn it on high to just, try to get it boiling as soon as possible. But you can just place this bowl on top of your pot of water. And if it's on high, it should already have some heat going. And this soap is really easy to melt, so you should start to see it melt. When you do that, you want to take a fork. So, okay. So you're going to just basically do this. You're going to have your pot here. You're going to have this on top. It will be on top of your fire. You're going to take your fork and you just want to stir it with a fork. And I suggest the fork because it'll get liquidy pretty fast. And then if you stir it with fork, the fork actually helps break up everything quicker. So you just want to do that.
And I think actually half people are doing microwave as well, so could be talking.
Okay. So with microwave, your kit came with this pitcher. So you're going to take 3 cubes, gonna put them in the pitcher, and I modified the instructions a little bit. So what you're gonna do is you just are gonna, put this in the microwave for 1 minute. 1 minute is going to basically almost completely melt it. So you're literally gonna have to stir for probably a second or 2, and then it'll be all melted. So you just wanna take 3 cubes, place it in the pitcher. If you're using microwave, microwave it for 1 minute. And before you do that, you're going to take your mold. So I'm just gonna go get the molds real quick. You're gonna use the molds, the larger ones that have these shapes in it, because you're making layers. So you're gonna need a deeper mold, and the ones that you have, that alternative one with the flowers, we're not gonna be able to use that for this project. So I'll go get that. So you're gonna use this mold. You wanna make sure you have this mold laid out. Okay, so everyone should have this kind of laid out and ready. And I'm gonna go ahead and microwave this, and I'll start the process, and I'll explain it while I'm doing it. So I'm just gonna be right back. I'm gonna microwave this for 1 minute. So I'm back. You see after 1 minute, it's literally liquid. So this is based on the microwave for 1 minute. I hardly have to mix it because 1 minute really takes care of that. It's completely liquid. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your bowl and your cup that you have mixed with dye and essential oil, or in this case, fragrance oil. So you're just gonna take one of those and you're going to mix some of your soap base in your cup. So I'll just show you here. We're just gonna pour this in. I can actually do this. All right, you can see. Gonna pour that in, and then you're starting to see the color. So in this case, what you're gonna do, you're just going to mix. And you see when I'm mixing it here, you start to see the color. Now you're seeing, like, you know, the color of your soap. So depending on the size of your cup, what you can do is you can take your cup and you can pour some of your soap base in just to mix the color, and then, you know, pour the rest of it into a bowl. Or if your cup is large enough, you can pour all of it in with your fragrance oil and with your dye. So you just want to mix this well, and if you feel at this point you want to make your color a little deeper, then you can add 1 drop of each color that you use just to deepen the color. So I'm going to pan down so you can see what I'm doing here better. So, all right. See, I was going for like a kind of, on my end, it's like a little like kind of blood orange, like peachy color. Sometimes, you know, with the camera, it can look a little different than it does in real life. But yeah, so you see the color I have here. And I'm actually pretty happy with this color, so I'm not going to add anything else to it. I'm not going to, like, you know, make it darker or anything. I think it's good. Also, you just want to smell it, and you should be able to kind of, like, you know, just get a smell of like what the oils are going to smell like. When the soap cools, it does smell different than when it's hot. When you have to, like, kind of keep that in mind. It's going to smell different when it's cool. For some reason, when you mix it with you know, oil with the melting pour, it smells a bit different than it does, like, you know, when it's completely finished. So, right, so I'm going to now take this color, and what you're going to do is you are going to now, like, use your discretion, eyeball. You want to make sure you pour this into 4 equal amounts into each cavity here. So and just so you know, like, for example, you see the soap base is starting to harden a bit. If you have that happen, you can just scoop, you know, whatever you have here, you can just, like, scoop it back in and microwave it for 20 seconds at a time if you have enough to do that. If you don't, like me, I don't have anything really left, then it's fine. You can leave it the way it is.
see a lot of really concentrating people.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you mix with the soap base, you can really like start to see the color. And at that point, you can always, like I guess mix in whatever other dye. So maybe they're doing that. They're like, oh, I want a different color now. I want to make it a little darker. How's everyone doing? That's using stovetop, because that does take a little longer to melt. I just want to see. Let me see here. Okay. So where's everyone at that's using stovetop? Okay. So once your base is melted, and you're using stovetop, you just want to take your flame and turn it on low. You want to lift this up kind of off of here. Take this off of here, take your towel, and you just want to make sure you wipe off all the excess, all the water and steam, because you don't want that to mix in your soap when you're pouring. So just wipe off the base of your bowl, and what you're going to do is then take your bowl and pour it in a little bit into your cup that you have your where you have your essential oil and your dye, or in this case fragrance oil. I keep on saying essential oil, but take one of your cups and you pour it in, mix it well, and then after you do that, you're going to dump it into the bowl that you have for mixing. So you want to dump it back in and then mix it all together. If you want to deepen the color, you can always add a drop or two and then put it right back on the stove top and mix it in, just to make sure it's like, liquid again. Here. So once you're finished with that and you have your soap base completely mixed with your dye, you're just going to pour it into your mold, and you want to make sure that you're just going to pour it into your mold, and you're going to make sure that you're pouring an equal amount into each cavity. So you want to make sure you have like an equal amount here. You're just eyeballing it.
Christine, somebody had a question about, said if you're using the microwave, we're going to go ahead and melt our next base. And then also, what's the best way to clean these cups after using them?
Oh, it's soap. You literally can just run it, run hot water on it and clean it. Normally, like you just go ahead and clean it. Even if you just dump the dye in, if it's just dye and oil, you can just clean that with like some soap and water. And also for this part, before you melt your second layer, you want to just go back to your soap here. It's already going to be partially solidified once you pour it in. So once you're finished with that, you want to check it, because if it's already a bit solid, you see mine's is kind of solid right now, you're going to take your knife and you're going to start basically just kind of puncturing and running it across the top, basically creating like a rough surface or a textured surface. You don't want to puncture it all the way down. You just want to create like an ugly kind of punctured surface, because that's going to help your layers to stick together. If you don't do this, once your soap is solidified, it'll actually come apart into 3 layers. So this part's like pretty important. You just want to make sure you're creating kind of a textured surface. Like you see what I did here? Kind of just messed up the surface. You're literally doing that, and you just want to make sure you do it all over the surface of each soap layer in each cavity. Like, so I did that one. Now and this soap is going to, like, as far as the way it feels when you're puncturing, it'll be a little like gummy because it's you know, kind of like partially solidified. It's still like a bit liquidy, so that's to be expected. You don't want to puncture too hard. You just want to make sure you kind of beat up the surface a bit and create a rough surface. So see here, for example, and then I'm gonna do this one. Okay, so I'm finished, and you see this is the surface kind of that you're trying to create. Just a really textured, bumpy, jagged surface to help bond the layers. Okay, so now, since I'm using microwave, I'm going to take my next three, and I'm going to nuke this for 1 minute. I'll be right back. And what you want to do is, right after you do this, you're just going to go to your next layer and start mixing that, whether it's stove top or microwave. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Just wanted to mix this in here. Now, if your cup is large enough, with your dye and fragrance oil, you can just mix the soap base directly in the cup. Okay, so this is my dark purple. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pour this on top. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And I wanna pour 4 equal amounts into each mold. So how's everyone doing?
I see a couple thumbs up.
Okay,
We only have a couple minutes left.
so yeah, we can, I mean, we could technically like microwave or mix the next one. And you're gonna just texture the surface and pour that on top, and that will be the last step.
Okay. Are there any last minute tips about like how to care for it or how to unmold it, or it just pops right out?
Well, for this soap base, I know like the manual that came with it said 12 hours. It won't take 12 hours. You would need to set it aside for probably, I would say, a max of 3 hours. And then a quick way to unmold it would be to just pop it in the freezer for like 15 minutes. Like after 3 hours or so, you want to touch the top to make sure it feels pretty firm. And if you put it in there for 15, pop it out, it should be pretty easy to unmold. You're just going to turn it over and you're going to push down. So, for example, you just flip it over and then you're just going to push down and apply some pressure. I'll actually show you with the other one. So I'll be right back with that too. So, for example, when you're ready to unmold it, you'll take this after it feels pretty solid, 15 minutes in the freezer, take it out, turn it over, and then you're going to apply pressure and just kind of massage it like this, but while you're applying pressure, and it will release the soap. So once it's on flipped over on the side, you're just applying pressure, and you're doing that to each section. So you'll take, like both of your hands and go like that and apply pressure in a circular motion. And after going around a couple of times, kind of like this, it'll pop out.
Okay.
And how long do we need to wait for that step?
Well, the soap will have to sit for about 2 to 3 hours. After, I would say, probably like 3 hours or maybe 2.5 hours, it should be pretty firm. You're gonna fill the top, and it shouldn't give, and you shouldn't have any give. It should feel pretty solid. And then putting it in the freezer will make everything like really like constricting. It'll just make the soap kind of like shrink a bit and make it easier to pop out. And before you put your before you go ahead and do your last layer, you just want to make sure you texture this second layer. So that's like really important. You want to make sure you texture the second layer with your knife, and you just want to make sure you do that all over for each mold before you pour in your last layer. And then after that, you're just really waiting for the 2 to 3 hours for it to solidify and pretty much be fully hardened.
All right, thanks so much. There was one question that I'm not sure that we went over earlier on. It was to do with synthetics. A question from Sophia. Do you happen to know when soap started becoming mostly synthetic? Was it maybe mid 20th century? And she's interested in this history.
Well, actually, I can. I don't know exactly when they started doing that, but yeah, I'm not sure when. It probably was at some point during the industrial revolution. I'm not sure exactly when. It's really early on, as far as like making it out of the turkey. But yeah, now pretty much most of your soap, like even ivory soap is like, yeah, that's like That's basically tallow and perch
Oh
and
wow.
things like that. Yeah, yeah. That's and that's something like I didn't even think of that stuff before, and just like I had skin problems for years, like going to the dermatologist, all of that stuff, and then when I actually got into like more holistic lifestyle, and like I got into like herbalism and things like that, I kind of made things myself, just doing things as a hobby to try to help my own problems. And it turned out that all the stuff I was using that I thought was great was making my skin work. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Especially like dial, like dial soap. Just like Irish Spring stuff like that. If you look at the ingredients actually, and if you just do a quick Google search, you'll actually see what's in your soap. It's pretty crazy.
And does anybody have any last minute questions for Christine? No? I'm interested to see would people be interested in showing their soaps, like holding them up, like what you have so far, the colors?
So let's see.
Oh, wow, that looks great. Very
Okay.
cool.
Oh, so you made a peach. I just someone made peach color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, that looks
I
awesome.
have some regrets about the colors I have chosen.
Oh, I love the
Oh,
green.
yeah. Made it like green. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really cool. So what you're gonna end up having is this. So these are the finished products. I made a bunch before the workshop. So this is what you're gonna have. And I mean, they actually come out looking pretty good. So this is a great idea, for holiday gifts and things like that too. And you can make as like many layers as you want also, and you can actually do like different scents. You can get really creative, but I actually like I do soaps and like natural like body care items for holiday gifts, and people seem to love that.
That's awesome. Okay, Phil, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Christine, but thank you so much. Any last minute questions or anything? If you want to ask now. If not, then we'll probably end in about a minute.
Okay.
It would be great once you guys are finished making your soaps, if you want to share them with us, you can send them to the Design Center, either our Instagram page, which is Design at Barnard, and you can tag myself, and I don't know if Christine, you want to be tagged as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely see it.
And then also, or you could send it an email, designcenter at barnard.edu. And so I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll say it one last time. You definitely want to make sure you texture your layer with the knife really well all over before you pour your last layer. If you don't, it'll come apart. So that's the only that's the most important thing. Beyond that, just pour on your last layer, and you'll have your rainbow soap and enjoy it.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much. I hope you guys all enjoyed the process. I enjoyed watching. I wasn't doing it. I didn't have a kit, but I had fun watching you guys do the thing. Okay. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, and I will take